Hey, welcome back to the channel where you get to watch me build a Minimax 1100r. I have to tell you, it is the most amazing adventure like ever. I mean, some of this little, I guess it satisfies a lot of different things. One of which is, I think everybody needs a little bit of time where you're, working on something, focusing on something that you really enjoy and that you're passionate about. It's just so good for the mind, so good for the soul, and this is no exemption. I mean, when you step back and you just take a look at, the work that's been done, and in my mind I can think about all of the stuff that I've calculated my way through, and things that I've solved, and yeah, it's just great. I mean, that's all I can say about that. But where we left off the other day is that so we have all the gussets on this side of the vertical stab, and now we'll be preparing the other gussets and getting those attached to the opposite side. And then we're also working on the rudder, and what I wanted to do was show just kind of show you some of the sequencing that's necessary with the rudder. Let's just get a little dust off of there. All right, let me set this camera up real quick. All right, this is kind of how things go. The first step is to get your piece cut so that it fits basically between the line. I've got the part where the trailing edge piece will actually go here, and the trailing edge has a kind of a shape to it like that, so you have to make sure you get it going the right direction. Like, this is not the right direction because I can see from here it's bending down, so it has to go this way so that it's actually centering up the way we want it to. And what you have to do on this part is you have to actually get your piece cut, the angles cut between your spar and let me find the spar here. Here's the spar. And so between the spar and the trailing edge piece, the first thing to do is just take your square edge piece and get this angle cut. And then after that, you need to draw a center line all the way down it. And then there's a template that's made, and I just made it with some 1/8 inch plywood. This comes off the Plein. I scaled mine in CAD because I didn't have the full size pieces that you get with the printed set, I believe. The digital set doesn't come with full size pieces, obviously, because they're digital. It's kind of funny. And so the method here is, once you get the piece cut, then you just take this long edge here, because this angle is making up for the difference in this. Now you can see how those two actually fit together there. So if you were to put it like that, it's going the wrong. It's not doing its thing. If you put it like that, then it is. So you're all good. And so each one of these will be cut. So I just take this tip here, the long edge, and it goes against the back edge where I've already cut this, and then I just center this up on my center line in both places. And then I'm going to get the pencil. We're just going to take our pencil, and let me get a little more lead out of this thing. Okay, now we've transferred it to that piece. Now all we have to do is we just go and we cut that piece, and we remember that every time we do this, we are going to be making our marks on the top side of each piece so that we end up with all of these going the right direction. So, and we want to be marking on the long side, not the short side. So, okay, so that one's ready to cut. And now all we do is just cut it out, and we'll shape it, and we'll just take the line. Just take the line out when we're sanding, so that'll get us down to the right location. And now we'll go ahead and cut the next piece, and so on and so forth, and then we'll be able to just cut those and sand them all at the same time. All right. And I was just making marks where my lines are. Then I can come in here and catch them here. And then that's a good starting point for cutting these. And we just connect the dots. And then we can go cut that, and we'll get the next one. So you may be interested in knowing how I do this with my sled here. And what I do is I'm actually set for this side at the moment. You can see where I've marked my black line on here. All I do is I move my sled forward, and then I look at it from the top, and I'm actually lining up my line with this slot right here, this edge of the straight edge right here. So I can see that really clearly from the top when I have a black line. And then I make the first cut just a little bit off of the edge. Like I don't go all the way. Like you can see this one has to be lined up differently. So we'll rotate it, then I'll look at it from above. I'll align it, and then I won't cut to the line the first time. I'll cut back a little bit to see how parallel I am. So, so this one I can see I've got to rotate it a little more this way, and that looks pretty good right there. So, and when I'm on that line, that leaves me enough space between the blade and here where I can actually have room where I can see. So let's cut this. So now you can, maybe I should turn that off. Now you can see, I can see my black line and I can see my edge, and I'm actually running actually very parallel to my line, so that should be a good cut. So we'll now we'll just work our way work our way over. So I just bring it up against the saw, then I move it back a little bit, and I'm going to go just about a saw blade, maybe just a little bit less, and just get a little bit closer to the line. And then there you can see I'm right up next to the line, and it looks really good. And then I go over here, and you can see I've blocked the spar in place now, because I knew I was going to be pushing up against it here, testing these out. So so now we just position this, and we'll see how our cuts look. And I can see that I'm a little bit long, which is okay. That's kind of how I want to be. And you can see that my cut here is actually just a little bit too steep, because I got that gap there. So we'll recut that one, get it lined up here. It looks like we're going to be really close on the back end, so, but we'll need to come in and mark. We'll need to mark on this side about how far. So now I'll just go back over and redo that one. First thing I'll do is line it up to where it was before, which is there. So it's about 25, 26 degrees, and we want to go maybe right about 25 degrees, I think. Maybe 24. Let's try 24. And then we'll just run it through and see how it looks. All right, so that one's a really nice fit now, and now we just have just one more to cut. All right, so while all of my pieces, while all of my pieces here are still square, what I wanted to do was test. I want to test fit how everything fits. Kind of need to lock these in place a little more. There we go. Just wanted to test fit my trailing edge, which is really pretty straight. It's got, if anything, just a very minor bow at the tips, but it's actually very straight piece. So all I'm going to do is just lay this up against here and just making sure that I've got a nice fit across all the members, and I do. So now all we have to do is take each piece off, and I've already marked this one, as you can see, for the trailing edge here. And so now I get on the top side as well, I get this one, and then we'll get this one, and then we'll get this one. And so I got to get my center lines drawn, and then once I do that, I'll be able to do the same thing I did here. mark these out the same, and then like this last one here will be, you know, it gets just a little bit of it is hang over there. That's all right. I can feel where center is because it's the same width here. Square in this area, these lines are running parallel, and then the taper starts. So I'll get these marked out, and let's make sure we got this correct. Yep, that's correct. So it's this side, this side, this side, and this side, just so we don't lose track. And I'll make my center lines, mark these out, and then we're going to the bandsaw. All right. All right, so we've got one more thing we have to do before we actually do the get this in place. So I need to do it now so I don't lose track of it, and that is the rudder yoke is positioned. We need to find where that's positioned and make sure we get that in place. So I see it's right here. I'll show you on the drawing how it tells us here. We are 3 inches from this corner back, and that puts us in the center of the rear hole. So all we have to do is we'll get our yoke out, and since we've already got our center line drawn on our piece, we'll mark where that 3 inches is. And then that'll put us in the center of the rear hole, and obviously we'll use the piece since it's already made to match that up. So so with this in, our 3 inches is from that forward corner right there. So I gotta just take my tape here. So we're gonna measure 3 inches. Let's make a mark there. All right, so that's going to be the center of the aft hole. So that's right there. And we'll just square that off. Except we need to be on the top side, so let me flip over here. That 3 inches is actually measured, measured on the bottom and then transferred to the top. So that's this right here. And we'll get that line. Inches. All right, let's grab our piece. All right, so we got our piece here, and now 3 inches. So now to square this up, we'll just make ourselves a mark here, and then so that's the aft hole for sure. And I'm just going to make a mark right here. So now we should be centered on our hole right there, and centered on our line, and then we've got something parallel to take a look at to make sure we stay there. So that'll help us punch the rear one. All right. So we're gonna punch this spot right here. Make sure we're good in center. All right. Drill press 3/16 hole, and then we will we'll get this thing going. All right, so I got the bolt in the front hole that I drilled, and now I've just marked the center of this piece right here, and I have my center line on the wood. So now it's just a matter of getting this aligned with the hole and maintain my center lines. So I'll get this in the aluminum first. I'm just going to move it around until I'm on my center line. And that looks good right there. So just hold the bit in the hole and turn it on. Okay. All right, so holes are drilled. We're nice and centered up. So now I can just set this aside for now, and we'll be able to put those bolts in at a later time. But the important thing was, let's get those holes drilled with a drill press while we can. So, all right, back over here. All right, so I've temporarily stapled the trailing edge to this, just so I could kind of line of sight it down here, and it actually looks really good there. So we're gonna go with that. And now that I've got that situated, I'm gonna come in and put my cross pieces in. We've got to cut those, and what we're doing now is we're actually using the exact same method that we did for the other ones. We're going to go from here to here, and first it'll be a full height piece, and then we will mark off. We'll put a little weight on here, and we'll mark off. We can just set that down with like that. Maybe something a little heavier. Maybe the drill. There we go. And then we'll mark where it matches up with this, because when I sight down the trailing edge, it's actually nice and straight right there. So that's good. And it's got a little bow at the end right there. we'll take care of that. Grab a block here. Slam a block in there temporarily, that'll hold that. Okay, so we're going from here to here, from here to here, from there to there. So we've got 3 pieces to make, and then we'll get those with the template, and then they'll get cut out. And first we'll just make sure they're fitting in here and all the angles are correct, and then we will do the same procedure that we did on these, and then we'll be in good shape and ready to epoxy something together. So yeah, loving it. So let me get some material and we'll get cooking on that. Our first one is going to be somewhere around maybe 22 inches. 16 and a half, and 18, yeah, 22, 16 and a half, and 18. And I'll get those cut. All right, so the methodology actually worked out really good. So you can see I've got all of these shaped and in place. So now the next step is to get ready to epoxy it. But what I want to do the same as I did over here, and I want to have my gussets ready to go so I can actually get them in place, because I'm going to use the gussets to actually sort of gonna use I was looking at something there and lost my concentration. I'm gonna use the gussets to actually sort of shape this trailing edge and make sure these are all fairing in the way they're supposed to. So I'll get those. They're all, as when I numbered them originally, it was pretty simple. So I believe these are my like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like maybe 1 through 6 on the on there. So let me grab those, and then we will do the same thing we did before. We'll go to the sander and I'll bevel all the edges on those, and then we'll get prepared to put this on. And you can see if I show you really close up here, you can see how this looks right here. And actually if you see the gap, the way the staple's kind of pulling it a little bit, so really it needs to tuck under just a touch, which I believe the plywood will help do. So yeah, when I put that on, that should take care of it. So yeah, so let me get to that. All right, so I've got everything situated here. I have this ready to go, and so what I'm going to do is going to mix up some epoxy, and then I'll be able to. I've got all of these have their bevels on them, so they're ready to epoxy on. They're sanded on the back side. So the next step is get some epoxy on here. First, I'll mark where all of these go, so we don't lose track of that. I can see I marked here and kind of up here where this number 13 gusset goes, and you can see that shows me where I need to put epoxy on the wood. So, what I'll do is I'm going to remove one staple at a time. So I'll take this staple out first. I'll put the bottom gusset on after I epoxy this in, and then we'll move to the next one. Obviously this one will need to get epoxy at the same time, but that'll go in, this will go in, and then we'll put the gusset on, then we'll move here and we'll put this one in, and we'll put this one in, and then we'll put this gusset on and this gusset on. So we'll work our way to the tip that way, and that should keep us straight. We will double check everything once we get it kind of stapled in place, just to make sure that everything is staying nice and square. And we'll use a piece of I'm going to put some weight on here to keep it weighted down while we get the everything in place. So yeah, all right, so let me get some epoxy mixed up and we'll get to this. All right, so that's all the time I have for today, and you can actually you can see I've kind of got things sort of well, I've got them weighted down here and then kind of jigged in place. So and just the weight's on the front, that's keeping all of these ribs nice and flat through their flat section. And then what I did is because the plywood and this section here just wanted to turn up a little bit, just used a clamp on this end, and then I just ran a screw and a washer on this end, and you can see you know, it's nice and centered now, where the center of this runs through the center of the rib. So, and then that didn't really need this weight, I don't think, but I just dropped it in there just in case. So that first half of the rudder is doing its thing. I'm going to pull the staples out of this side of the stab, and it's kind of shocking actually how heavy this front lamination is, but I'll be removing a portion of that, so we'll shave a little bit of weight off of that. Yeah, so thanks so much for hanging out with me. Making really good progress now, and I'll study the horizontal stab plan. It's built just like this, but a little bit different. There's just some additional material in the center section and things like that. So spar doubler, a couple other things. So I'll just make sure I have a good, clear understanding of how that goes together. So when we start laying that out, that'll go really well. And yeah, hey, if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button and the little bell so you can catch all these episodes if you're enjoying following along. And hey, I'll catch you later.